And good evening, all. Welcome to the MAGA Report. Dave in the AM, your host. A little late. We do a Monday night show, so pushes on. We'll stay on for a bit. Wanted to update some of the news from the weekend, as I'm sure many of you have been keeping up with the goings on around the world, especially those involving the war in Ukraine and Russia, and the damage control out of that, and the latest news. This attack and everything about it was obviously had some masterminds behind it. Zelensky was not the brains of the operation. Nobody ever convinced me of that. And it moves the United States closer to a precarious position of war. Europe does not care. Europe seems to want war. This was a long planned attack, and they had help. There's no doubt about it. They had help in this. Who all provided the help? I would like to know that. For their part, they did meet in Istanbul. There was no agreement on a ceasefire, but they did plan to exchange some wounded and some soldiers and continuing. So, but there's no, after that, there was never going to be an agreement today on a ceasefire. Absolutely. Britain has moved some of their military to a military operational readiness, or what they call a war-fighting readiness. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer took that move. This article was a few hours ago, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to be specific. But they said, quote, UK must learn lessons of Ukraine, address most serious threats since Cold War. People like Lindsey Graham, Senator South Carolina, and others, Richard Blumenthal. What are you doing over there, and what are you doing involved in this, and who all is involved in it? What did the president know or didn't know about this? I would like to know answers to that. Of course, it'll take some time for all this to shake out. But what in the world are we doing? Instead of getting out, we're getting further in. And there's no way they're going to allow the attack on these long-range bombers and stuff, which also violates some treaties. My understanding violates some treaties that have been agreed upon. And so we're just at a point maybe of no return. I hope not. But there are many who believe that this may put us on a path, the world that is, and would include us, a path to a war that we do not need to be a part of. Anyway, the United Kingdom's military was moved into a war-fighting readiness to address growing threats from Russia during a visit to BAE Systems Govan facility, a Navy shipbuilding yard in Glasgow, Scotland. The Prime Minister laid out 3 fundamental changes to be made in response to the country's strategic defense review. Remember, they jumped all over the United States, they being Germany, France, and Britain, claiming that they would lead the world. They're going to lead us into war because they felt like we were not making a stand, and really mocked us. And it's like they're itching for this. They really want this war. They keep using the excuse that Russia is going to advance into all these nations. There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence that they're going to do that. This is the drums of war are beating. He said, first, we are moving to warfighting readiness as the central purpose of our armed forces. The central purpose, to move your military to a war fighting readiness. When we are being directly threatened by states with advanced military forces, the most effective way to deter them is to be ready. Well, being ready is one thing, but going to a posture of war footing is a whole different matter. He said that we must have the most effective way to deter them is to be ready, and frankly, to show them that we're ready to deliver peace through strength. That's not what you're showing. You're not showing peace through strength. You're making comments, and you've been building up. When you use the word war readiness, just say we're ready for any threats to our nation. War makes it sound like you're ready for the declaration to start. He continued, now Britain has the finest servicemen and women in the world. No, they don't. But anyway, we're showing them the respect that they deserve by delivering the biggest armed forces pay raise in 20 years. And by pledging today that we will end the hollowing out of our armed forces, we'll build a fighting force that is more integrated, more ready, more lethal than ever, backed by a stronger strategic reserve, fully trained and ready to mobilize at any time. This new approach comes as the president has warned the European nations to take more responsibility for their own security. Yes, security, but not a war footing. It's Starmer's announcement, this article from Newsmax, or Fox, excuse me. Starmer's announcement focused on a new, quote, new era of threats, citing the war in Ukraine, new nuclear risk, and daily cyber attacks, as well as reversing the post-Cold War defense decline. He called out growing Russian aggression in the UK waters and skies, blaming their reckless actions for the increased cost of living, hitting working people the hardest. How about you opened your borders up, buddy? That was a pretty big attack on your ability to control cost, is what you've done all across Europe. The threat we now face is more serious, more immediate, and more unpredictable than at any time since the Cold War. BS. The UK government announced military plans in response to a strategic defense review commissioned by Starmer and led by George Robertson, a former UK Defense Secretary and NATO Secretary General. It is the first such review since 2021, months after Britain's last major defense review was published in 2021. Then Prime Minister Boris Johnson, remember him, said with confidence that the era of, quote, fighting big tank battles in European landmass, quote, end quote, are over. 3 months later, Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine, and Starmer's center-left Labour Party government says it will accept all 62 recommendations made in the review, aiming to help the UK confront growing threats on land, sea, air, and in cyberspace. The second change, Starmer explained from Scotland, is ensuring everything we do will add to the strength of NATO. Oh, they're itching to get NATO involved in this. As we step up to take greater responsibility for our collective defense, the NATO alliance means something profound, that we will never fight alone. It is a fundamental source of our strategic strength. That's why our defense policy will always be NATO first. NATO first? NATO first? Can you imagine the president of America, NATO first? No, that's not the way it's supposed to be. How about you take care of your own? You can have agreements with people, but don't be preaching war and getting everybody else to jump in. Ukraine is their patsy for this. They have more than happily want to continue to fight. They don't want peace. They want to continue. NATO first, something that's written through this review. The transformation we are driving in our defense must add up to Britain's biggest contribution to NATO since its creation, so that when we're building new capabilities at home, we are making our allies safer too, strengthening Europe and strengthening our bridge to the U.S. as Britain's first partner in defense. The third change laid out by Starmer is for the UK to, quote, innovate and accelerate at a wartime pace, so that we can meet the threats of today and of tomorrow as the fastest innovator in NATO. He said such advancements would not mean replacing people or hardware, but would rather mean, quote, learning the lessons of Ukraine. Oh, there's a lot of lessons need to be learned there. We see what happened. We know what happened too. The lessons of Ukraine and ensuring every capability we have works seamlessly together. Drones, destroyers, AI, aircraft, each different branch of our armed forces fully integrated to create an army which is 10 times more lethal by 2035. The UK government, of course, that's 10 years from now, a little less. The UK government said it's expanding the country's armed, nuclear-powered submarine fleet with 12 new SSN AUKUS boats through a partnership with Australia and the United States. The government also says it will invest £15 billion in Britain's nuclear arsenal, which consists of missiles carried on a handful of submarines. Details of those plans are likely to be kept secret. Well, duh. Starmer has already pledged to increase defense spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027, a boost from the current 2.3%, and to eventually get up to that 3%. Great Britain News noted that the press conference Monday that Starmer hasn't committed to having 3% of the GDP go to defense spending within the next 9 years, even as Germany's defense chief warned Russia could invade a NATO ally within the next 4 years. In his response, Starmer reiterated the UK as a steadfast ally to Ukraine and said the changes coming as a result of the review would be the best way to deter further conflict. The UK government will also increase Britain's conventional weapons stockpiles with up to 7,000 UK-built long-range weapons. Starmer said rearming would create a, quote, a defensive dividend of thousands of well-paid manufacturing jobs. Oh, so we're going to go to war to create jobs, I see. To contrast the post-Cold War peace dividend that saw Western nations channel money away from defense into other areas. So they just keep talking the same old rhetoric. War, war, war. Could somebody please put the phone call out to get Lindsey Graham out of Ukraine before we're all at World War III and nuclear weapons are falling? This gentleman, good evening, Red Truth Pods. I hope, yes, all is well. Thank you for that. And God bless you. I'm sorry. And again, I think, yes, peace through strength. But can you imagine that we changed the DEFCON in America and started making postures for war? Those are dangerous signals, very dangerous signals. Yes, you got to be strong, but NATO first. Everybody in Europe is building up their military. Poland's been building up their military for a while. It's like they're all itching for a war with Russia. It's almost like you get the feeling they're ready to just roll the tanks and the men and the airplanes into Ukraine and take it on there and say, well, we're just not going to let them even get the first shot. We're going to do it. But the shots are being extended and advanced by Ukraine. Yes, Russia's hit them hard. But look what has happened. They've shot at the helicopter carrying Putin. Both sides agree this happened. They have carried out this very complex and long-range planned, deep within Russia attack on their strategic bombers. And so what, on the very eve of supposed peace talks at Istanbul, again, I don't have any love for Putin or Russia or anything. I don't like what they've done in Ukraine. But Ukraine has to bear some responsibility on what they've done. And NATO, and many of those nations were trying to fast track Ukraine into NATO. Remember that? Joe Biden was fighting for it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, NATO. He may have held back, but it seemed as though he was for it. I believe that in the end we were not going to approve that. At least there was somebody with some sense. But remember, he was literally begging over here in his little general's uniform on and begging to get in NATO because he wanted that, NATO member, next attack. There you go. Every country pouring into Russia. I mean, somebody at least said, no, we better not do that. And for all of the attacks, and they're ugly. They're absolutely horrific, ugly. Don't like anything that's happened with Russian attacks in Ukraine. But everybody said, what if a stray missile or whatever goes into Poland, Lithuania, or whatever? Some things that we have to recognize that have not happened is that there's been none, if any, that's came anywhere near a border with any of those NATO nations. Even Belarus, which is just a puppet for Russia, they have agreements. Russian troops have worked, they have assets on their air bases and stuff. But they have not really waged any kind of war or operations out of Belarus. They've kept them clear. And it has largely, until recently, remained a stalemate. It's a bloodbath, sure. But it had really just got down to the daily grind of fighting over inches of land, a village here or there every day. It only escalated recently to the point that we see what's happening. And so now you've got, and what precipitated that? Well, maybe it was France, Britain, Germany saying, and throw their name in there, that the range restrictions were taken off of the weapons. You can go deeper into Russia. I mean, it's like, even if there was a somewhat of a hope of peace, it's like, we'll just derail it. Yeah, there was some attacks. Russia did hit. But it's, that's not the time to be saying that kind of talk. We're going to pull off all the range restrictions. Yes, Ukraine, you can fire deeper into Russia now. You've just escalated this thing. And again, I don't think, there may come a point where it has to happen. There may come a point where all of Europe does have to do that. But they need to work very hard to make sure that is the last option. got to look at what's happened here. Yes, it is land lost. Russia's got land. But I'll say a couple things to happen. Zelensky needs to go. We can make that happen. And we need to, yes, push that. Look, he's going to go. We're going to have elections in Ukraine. And no, we're not going to give you everything you want, but we're going to tap this down, and we'll discuss who gets what, because there is some agreements that's got to happen. That was what was supposed to happen. So they've done prisoner swaps, injured prisoners, and all that before. They're doing that again, but it's a tit for tat. One side hits, the other side hits, and now it's getting more violent. The number of attacks has went up. What they're targeting has increased, and so like I said, you got Lindsey Graham over there with Blumenthal promoting his supposed 82 signatures. He's got co-signed on it. He's going to try to get past the House and Senate and put on the president's desk. President Trump has seemed like he's not for that. He's calling for up to a 500% sanction increase on any countries doing business with Russia. That would seem to be pretty provocative anyway, just in of itself, of doing that. So I don't, be careful what you wish for. I don't think it's got a snowball's chance of passing through, but I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to pass. And even if it passed, I don't think the president signs that yet. I think there's other things that could happen. We got to get the heck out of it. I know that. And Europe, Britain, France, they're going to pull us in if we're not careful. This is when you go back and look at all the wars and look at what how do we get involved? Just keep on messing around and something's going to happen. Next thing you know, it's going to be a call up, and a big one. This is not some little dust up on and against the Houthis or some group like that. This is big boy stuff. This is superpower. And and now Russia is, for its part, is saying that again, they do a lot of talk, but have said that this is now potentially a nuclear event. They've sort of talked around this a little bit recently, but it's seeming to escalate what they're saying. Ukraine is not able to defend themselves fully without support. It's not going to happen. They would get run over. They need to push for this to happen, or we're just going to keep pouring more and more resources into Ukraine. So we'll just have to see where this goes. Russia's made some missteps as well. There's things that they could have done to tap this down as well. But and then he's out there bragging. Zelensky's out there bragging. Oh yeah, we set up the office right by their office. Oh, I led the attack myself. I'm the big guy here. I'm sorry, that's Biden. But anyway, I'm the big guy in Ukraine, and I led this operation. It was mine. I'm the mastermind. I'm the one that led that. Come on, man. But it is amazing. And again, who helped them? They didn't pull this off by themselves. The intelligence of it, they said it was a complex operation. I'm sorry, it's too complex for them. It's too complex for Zelensky, I can tell you that. And so who helped them with intelligence? Who helped them? And are we involved in that? It's pretty ironic. I said it yesterday. Ironic that two senators are in Kyiv while this is going on, who are pushing for more, who's pushed for war with Russia, who has pushed for more sanctions on them, who is basically saying, take it to them. You just happen to be in the country while this is going on. Okay, I'm not stupid. They're definitely out over here working it from that side of the street. Absolutely, they were there. They were given a front row seat. Look what we're fixing to do. Former CIA analyst Fred Fleets told Newsmax on Monday that the drone attack by Ukraine on Russian aircraft did enormous damage. It was a lot of damage. They're going to be angry. They're going to fight back. I mean, this is it inflamed Russia. I'm sure it's embarrassing to them. They've never had an attack take out that kind of aircraft before. And he said shows the incompetence of the Russian military. Okay, but everybody says that. Like they're stupid. They don't have the best equipment. They don't have this. Well, by God, they got enough to keep throwing it at it, and they do have nuclear weapons. He told Wake Up America that the attack by Ukraine really did enormous damage to Russia's military, destroying planes that can't be replaced. Some of them are no longer made. Some were made in the 1950s, and we'll see the real extent of these planes because some of them on the tarmac weren't operational. He added that the attack success shows the incompetence of the Russian military. Russian bloggers have been criticizing Russia for parking these planes in the open on airstrips that they shouldn't have been doing that. Fleets noted that, quote, there's something here people aren't talking about. We are seeing revolutions in military warfare during this war in Ukraine, and the U.S. has to learn from the vulnerability of our Air Force, of our elected officials, to attack by drones. He added the Russians have consistently underestimated new technology in this war with Ukraine. We have to learn too. A great point, because we have those enemies that are in our country. Our intelligence is pretty good, but could somebody get the drones assembled here? Maybe they're already here and they're released and they attack Air Force resources and assets on the tarmacs. We definitely should be checking our vulnerability of ourselves, the assessment of it. But again, Ukraine didn't figure this out on their own. There's no way. I refuse to believe that. They've been a fighting machine. Yes, they have fought valiantly, but they have lacked in the area of intelligence and lacked in the area of electronic warfare. And they're catching up themselves. The Russians have been using fiber optic drones for some time. Ukraine is trying to get these built and use them themselves. They've been behind. So there's no way that they were advanced enough on this to make this happen. And by the way, these attacks are one-offs. Yeah, it was damaging, but what do you got next? It's like the Hail Mary. You don't have an Air Force to speak of. You have been successful destroying some tanks and, yes, helicopters and a plane here or there. You did a lot of damage to these bombers, but the Air Force of Russia is still very powerful. And they could blitz your cities. They could do carpet bombing runs across Kyiv, and you ain't got jack crap to stop it. It could happen. For those that think that Russia's thrown everything they have at them, no, they haven't. I think they've kind of figured what they could throw at them and get away with it without others getting involved. But if you back this bear into the corner, this bear is going to strike. And who knows if this is not the spark that occurs that makes that happen. And are we going to see bombers flying over, some of the major cities of Ukraine, including Kyiv, and just the shock and awe like we brought to Iraq? Are we going to see that? I'd hope not, but that's a very real possibility, a very real possibility. And so what was the end game here? Well, first of all, you're trying to get peace. I know you're at war. I get it. You're being hit. But you're on the eve of a peace agreement, supposed, working on a ceasefire. And this is the attack that you give with American political leaders in the country, in the capital, who, oh, by the way, are for supporting you fully in this fight against Russia, and has made statements openly in media all the way back to the beginning of the war that would need to do damage to Russia and hurt their ability to wage war. Let's do it now. There were other voices that were with him. Not a lot, but there were some. He has been itching for war with Russia, it seems to me. It seems to me. Kurt Volker, to Newsmax, put pressure on Russia. He's the former U.S. ambassador to NATO. Kurt Volker told Newsmax on Monday that Ukraine and its Western allies might put quote, pressure, end quote, on Russia to reach a peace agreement, noting that they have no real desire to negotiate at the moment. Well, no, they don't. But I can tell you they're more inflamed now than ever have been before because of this attack deep within the Russian territory. He slammed Russian President Vladimir Putin for making outrageous and extravagant demands that include things like recognition as Russian territory, all the parts of Ukraine that they now occupy, and some parts that they don't occupy, as well as a demilitarization of Ukraine and end Western military support, guarantee of no future NATO membership for Ukraine, and so on and so on. And yes, he does that. And he does make outlandish claims or demands. He absolutely has. He's not going to get all that anyway, and he knows that. He added that these demands are indicating that Russia have no real desire to negotiate for peace. Volker attributed this to a lack of pressure, saying that Russia's leaders think they can continue to fight militarily on the front lines. They think they continue to pay for this, and they are hoping that the West will get tired of this and stop any kind of support for Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. What Ukraine is doing is bringing the fight to Russia, to their military installations, taking out some significant capabilities. Well, it's war, and I get that, but the timing of it is very suspect. You've had this plan for a year and a half, and on the very eve of you're going to go in and try to find an agreement, you didn't even wait for that talk to happen, and you hit and are bragging about it. You knew those talks were doomed. So we'll see. It has definitely become a millstone around the president's neck, and I hope tread lightly here and navigate this, because it is getting uglier by the day. We said that recently that it had entered the danger zone. Well, it's worse than the danger zone now, because it is starting to escalate out of control, and we'll see what happens. Ukraine, for its part, says that they're just trying to stay relevant until, yes, you're absolutely right, Ernest Dempsey, that they're just trying to stay relevant until, and in the conflict, until the next talks. Really? You had to hit then? Again, the timing is so weird to me. Why did it take a year and a half? Why was it put in operation just now? I know obviously it would take some time, but the pushing the button on this, when they pushed it, why then? Why was it at that very moment? There's too coincidental. It's others working behind the scenes. So, there's absolutely no doubt. Ernest Dempsey, it's beyond clear. Living in the illusion that Trump defeated the swamp is only serving the swamp. The swamp is everywhere, and there's people working against the president. I believe it, behind the scenes on this. And we're going to have an honest discussion about this in the United States of where do we go with this? What is our part? Till now it's been money, weapons. Obviously there's been the Starlink has been used to help direct the drones and everything. And how much were we involved? Because Russia looks at this as that, well, anybody that helped them, we're at war. We're at war with them. Did we help and provide intelligence, direction, the ability to know to pull this off? Are we that involved? Everybody said, well, we're not involved. We're just helping them. They're fighting the war. Well, are we involved? And if we're involved that deep, how much worse is it going to get? And we're drugged right into it. Yes, behind the scenes is the term. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Working feverishly to bring us to the point of World War III. I don't care for Russia's leadership at all. I don't like what they're doing. I've never liked it. I didn't like it when they hit Crimea. But there's been a lot of missteps here. There's a lot of things going on. And we know about several things within the country. There's a power, the energy part that Putin wants to control the energy in all of Europe. Yes, people have mentioned the biolabs, the nuclear site, the facility for the nuclear energy, control of all of the ports there, a land bridge to Crimea, not just bridges, getting back the motherland, some of the land that he looks back and harkens back to their history and wants some of that. All that's at play, sure. But it just seems as though recently it's just escalated and continues to escalate more. Who's pushing that? Who's doing that? So, hello, Taurus from Buffalo, New York. Safe journeys to you. Way up in the Northeast. Did I know that Trump White House recently employed a convicted Islamic terrorist who served 13 years in prison for acts of terror. I may have heard something about that. I don't know if I absolutely heard that but I would be definitely look at it. But it sure is getting ugly, right? I mean, it is sure getting ugly. And here's my point: listen, I know we've been the police around the world. Trump, if anything, Trump has said, listen, pay your part. We're tired of giving all the money. I mean, 75% of the UN's budget. The majority of the NATO money support, our debt, is from America. He said, pay your part, do it. Okay, but they're doing it, or they're stepping up to do it, but they're talking about going to war with it. And so, what is our part? What do we want to see? Everybody is all about war until it really hits. When the hell hits, when it becomes the hell that war is, then they won't be talking so bold. But by then it's too late. And here's the thing: I want to see America be strong. Yes, peace through strength. And unfortunately, sometimes you do have to go to war. Sometimes you get punched, you go to war. Sometimes you have to do that. But you need to avoid it at all costs. The sons and daughters of America will be dying on the battlefields of Europe once again if this is not checked. It's got a lot of tentacles. It's got a lot of parts. It's got a lot of things that has to happen. There's a lot of things that has to happen. Right now, I see all the wrong things happening. I don't see a real push right now to de-escalate. What I see is escalate at rapid speed. And we're still getting our military ourselves back into a readiness. And they've always been talking about China and others. Our recruiting numbers have been down for a long time. They recently jumped. It takes a while to develop those folks to get them trained. We've given a lot of stuff to Ukraine, a lot of assets. You got to replenish your stockpiles, strategic reserves on oil. All these things are important. And are we ready for the body bags to be coming home with their sons and daughters because of this crap? And that's what I care about. I care about, yeah, they did kill that story, brother. I care about our folks. And if anybody is itching for our kiddos to go over there and fight there, something's wrong with you. Now, some think we can fight a proxy war from I tell you, this thing's going to get ugly and it's going to get out of control. And the next, it's going, some Russian submarine or whatever is going to sink a destroyer or something, and then Katie bar the door, as we say here in the South. It's on. Slow this thing down, top back. Yes, put pressure there, absolutely, but be very careful about provocative statements. It's easy to talk tough when you're not seeing the body bags, but when that happens, then it's really going to hit the fan. And we need to, at all costs, try to avoid that. This is not our war. It's not. I don't want to see Europe overran by Russia, but does anybody really think that's going to happen? I mean, come on. The talk is really escalating up, and they're going to steamroll over all the nations. Look, they haven't done all they could do there with nuclear weapons and stuff in Ukraine, but they've got their butts kicked a lot on the front lines too. They've lost a lot of tanks. They've lost a lot of planes and helicopters, a lot of men. So this idea that they're just going to all of a sudden steamroll over all the NATO nations, I find that a little bit, I find that, again, beating the drums of war. And boy, they like to sing that song and dance to it until the bombs start falling and the body bags start being delivered home in flag-draped coffins, and our sons and daughters, and they're playing taps over their graves. Then it gets real for Americans. We got to at all costs stop before we get there. That's what I say. The attack in Colorado, again, another huge misstep by previous administration. This person should have never been in the land. His hatred is not welcome here. I don't care what anybody thinks about this ugly thing in the Middle East. We cannot allow this to be happening on our shores, that people think it's okay to walk up and attack people in our country and just kill them, set them on fire. I mean, how horrific. It's already horrific enough. Can you imagine the churches being next? Because that's what will happen. The copycats will roll out. All these people that came into our nation, how many of them are ready to go fight like that? You know what this guy said? Did you read it? He said, I would do it again. I waited till my daughter graduated before I did. I've been planning this for a while. I would do it again. He has no remorse. He's full of hate. He's full of evil. And he would do it again. And how many more people are like him out there right now in the United States that are not supposed to be in this country at all? Let's get them the heck out of here, judges. Shut your pie hole. Get these people out. This guy should have never been here in the first place, but he certainly should have already been kicked out. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. This is the bad place that we're getting placed in. We've got a lot of problems here. We've got things we got to take care of, and we cannot watch this move in this way. Now, I saw this earlier today, and it absolutely speaks to how I feel about it. And this is from Blaine Holt. His headline is Ukraine strike puts world on escalation path. I've said that several times tonight. Escalation. He said, one that is difficult to reverse. The longer you go into it, the deeper you go into it, the harder it is to put that back in the can, right? Once you open the silo doors, once you go there, once you push a button, once you like Britain over here talking about getting war ready and ready for the attack and being the fiercest army in the world by 2035 and all that. Tap that stuff down. Be ready. You don't got to get out and have your beat your chest moment saying, "Oh my God, we're going to be ready for war. We're ready. We're getting ready now." The peace talks ended in just over an hour. Well, there was nothing to talk about. No, we're not ready to go to peace. We're fighting. Holt, appearing on Wake Up America, said he will pray for a breakthrough of some kind during the negotiations that nobody saw coming. I'll tell you, I've been on the air, and I've been blessed to be on the air with you all since Kabul fell, and I've never been more concerned. Now, this is what he said. I've never been more concerned about global or national security in my life than I am right now. That is a very strong statement. That's what I'm feeling tonight. I understand it's a tactical win. The Ukrainians have a tactical win, but they hit a third of their strategic bomber force that is covered by a START treaty, nuclear arms reduction treaty, that goes back to 2010. There is no Russian military there that believes that Ukraine was able to achieve this without Western intelligence help, including, yes, our country, the good old USA. The leaders of rocket forces for Russia have now openly said they are now listen to this. Listen to what this man says. They are now locking in coordinates for Paris, London, and Washington, D.C. This is an escalation path now without a reverse gear. I pray there's a reverse gear that President Donald Trump can find by calling President Putin. But as a military officer with 27 years service at the flag level and NATO service, I can tell you we are in a big, dangerous place that we were in 3 days ago. Exactly. And I pray that something good happens in those talks today. Didn't happen, except the exchange of wounded. Ask for a worst-case scenario if the peace talks don't go well. Holt said the worst thing that can happen is that we get on an escalation path. Russia blames NATO, blames the United States, and they don't take calls from the President Trump anymore. Well, listen to that. They blame NATO, they blame the United States, and they don't take calls from President Trump anymore. So how's he going to bring peace? See what I'm saying? And we're in a Cold War situation. much like we were when I was a young second lieutenant, adding that in such a scenario, the U.S. would be always at the edge looking for some pathway to talk to the Russians and potentially looking at a hot war. He went on to say no one should take this lightly, given the potential for escalation, and said he has previously warned that the Europeans need to follow President Trump's leadership on this. Can you tell me that they're going to militarily defeat Russia? No, they can't. Referring to the Ukrainians. This was a national event like the Doolittle raid, but it doesn't have the legs behind it. And if you can't carry it through to victory, then what are you doing with the bear that has nuclear weapons? That's my point. Trump is shy of declaring neutrality. I'd say he doesn't have the audacity to drop Ukraine as a proxy. Now, we're kind of stuck, right? Because, once you commit so much to this theater of war, which is 3 years in now, over. Once you commit this much into it, nobody wants to back off. Nobody wants to say, well, we lost that one. All that's for waste. And here we are. We're sitting on go. And all it's going to take is for one person to push the wrong button. And we won't be able to stop it. We won't be able to stop it. I remember in our own country, we had the war between the states, the Civil War. And not going into all the reasons for that. But one thing I remember in studying about that war is this. Both sides had a very misguided idea about what that war would be. The Southern military leaders and politicians, blowhards, were all a tizzy and hurrying to go to war. Even a war had been declared on them, the raising of the 75,000 troops that President Lincoln called for. And they saw it as invasion. So we're going to war. They were giddy about it. They had no standing military. This is the lunacy of it. And even the United States military was only about 30,000 strong, not enough to wage a war against, potential other army that would be raised. And so neither side was really ready for war. And yet both sides were calling for war. They were calling for they were escalating it. And there were people that wrote articles at the time that's like, what are you doing? You blowhards, you warmongers. Why are you pushing for war? Let's settle this. Let's come to agreements on it. Each side made steps to make sure that war happened. Fort Sumter was the spark. Everybody knew what was going on there on both sides. They were both excited to let's get it on, like the boxing match. Let's get it on. Don't restock Fort Sumter. Don't do it, U.S. military. We're claiming it. The escalation just went crazy. They rolled out to the first real battle, which each side had different names for battles. They rode out to the battle from Washington, D.C. in their buggies and their umbrellas and everything else on the northern side. And they thought they were going out to watch, I don't know, a few shots fired over their heads or something. I don't know what they thought they were going to watch. And instead, they saw the carnage of war. The losses were astronomical in that battle, that first one. They went back with totally aghast at what they had seen. I mean, my God, cannonballs are flying, all the, bodies are being blown up, heads are being blown up, people are dying. It's a mess. War is hell. It's ugly. And they rode back into D.C. and each side claimed some level of victory there, but each side knew after that because they each thought this thing will be over in 3 months. 4 years of hell, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives on both sides and a heck of a lot of civilians. And we ain't learned nothing. Remember when Russia was going to roll to Ukraine? Oh, the generals, this will be over in 3 months, 2 months, 2 months tops. These paid generals, blowhards. Oh, this will be over. Russia's going to roll right over Ukraine. Nothing you can do about it. Well, here we are all this time later. Almost a similar time frame. My God. And where does it go? Where, again, we got to tap this down. People get all excited. Oh, let's hit them. Well, what the hell do you think that means? Does that mean you want all of a sudden your sons who are serving as sailors on aircraft carriers and submarines and destroyers and battleships and whatever are flying the planes, the bombers? I mean, are you ready to see them going down in the ocean, ships on fire? Or do you ever see a mushroom cloud over Europe, or a mushroom cloud, my God, over America? This is how serious it is. This ain't nothing to be played with. And it's just some people, I'm not saying you here even listening or not, but you know what I'm talking about. There are these people, and a lot of them, these idiots, are in our government. Lindsey Graham, I'll call him out again. What are you doing? Get this guy back home. He's going to be the idiot that's going to be the one that we're going to look back in history and we're going to say, well, Lindsey Graham, man, he's over there. You know, he's supporting all this. Next thing you know, we're locked into war. That's how easy it starts. One spark. That's all it takes. And once that first bad episode happens, it'll never stop until a heck of a lot of people are dead. And we'll wonder, what happened? How did we get here? Right now is the time to try to de-escalate this, not escalate. But we got people, and maybe they want to see the president fail. There are those that would like, why would Richard Blumenthal? This guy's never been a talk tough like that. You've heard him talk just like I have. Why are the Democrats so interested in this war? Biden and all of them have been they always accuse the conservatives of being the warmongers. What I see is Democrats with some rhinos that are out there preaching war. They've been doing it for years now. And they're going to get us in a lot of trouble. And if we have to go, the cost of freedom is costly. We've already paid a great price. So the question tonight is, are you ready to escalate this? And are you ready for your 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old son or daughter to be pulled into military service through a draft and be taken overseas to fight Zelensky's war? I cannot, in any honesty, see that anybody in America would be for that. If they are, they're a lunatic. Because you cannot fight this war from afar. It's going to escalate to a point. That's what some people think. Oh, we're just helping them. We're just supplying them. They're fighting the war. We're just helping them to fight that war. The heck you are. What you're doing is you're getting us neck deep into a mess. And all it's going to take is one down plane, one fighter jet, one ship, one missile. And the next thing you know, we'll be seeing the convoys of military hardware and men rolling down the interstate highways of America, ready to be loaded up on C-130s to fly to Europe. My God, this got to stop. That's your MAGA report for tonight. It's alarming. It's absolutely alarming. And I like what the gentleman said. Pray. Yeah, absolutely pray. We need prayer. We need a prayer cover over this. Let's pray for the peace. I think some are praying for war. We need to pray for peace. I hope you know the Prince of Peace, the Lord Jesus Christ. And we sure need his blessing tonight and peace in our land. We need peace in our hearts, absolutely. The evil is breaking forth, and we need a miracle tonight. I absolutely believe that. And or another fake 9/11 event. Well, you're right, Minnesota. God bless you for being here, and I enjoy listening to your comments or reading your comments over on Killer Carl's channel. And if they can't get the event, you're right. By God, you're right. That's a great point. They will invent it. And there's enough idiots in our government that would absolutely do that. And it's happened before, and it'll happen again. Yes, pray for peace, Ernest. God bless you. I just don't want to see it. I'm all about America being strong, America being ready to, because I don't want to be under the control of some communist nation or socialist nation or whatever the heck. I love my country. I love freedom, and I want us to be strong. But you got to be smart about it. Got to be smart about it. And this is not Grenada, by God. We hit Grenada that time, remember? Big difference between hitting Grenada than Russia. Big difference, as bad as it was. Big difference between hitting Iraq, which maybe we weren't supposed to be there. Fighting for Kuwait's war. Or if some would say Israel. Sure, I get it. That's bad enough. But Iraq was not Russia. And Russia has more than enough stockpiles to create a biggest hell you've ever seen. And you poke that bear enough and they'll make it happen. If you push them in a corner, it'll happen. And I say again, why the heck would this attack allowed to happen? There is no way in HE double hockey sticks that I believe that we weren't involved in that somehow. I absolutely believe our intelligence was involved. And you cannot convince me that this just coincidence. Oh, the peace talks. Bullcrap. That's the cover. That Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal are in Kyiv while that happens. What are you doing? President Trump, I want you to speak out hard on this, and I want you to try to get this clamped down. I know he is. I'm not calling him out. But that's where we're at tonight, folks. That is absolutely the danger zone of where we're at with this. And let's just pray that a new day will bring a de-escalation. Those are striking things. And these military men, I listen to them because you know what? They've been there. They've been in those discussions. They've seen the intelligence. They know some things that goes on maybe we don't even know. And it's just alarming how quickly this is amping up. So let's pray. Great things can happen. A new day brings a new hope. And let's hope in a new day. We're almost in the new day. We'll get off here. I'll see you first thing in the morning. We got a couple of shows we'll do. Go to work. We'll hit it tomorrow night. Again, thank y'all for being here. Bless you. We appreciate your support of the Southern Fried Podcast. And if you have podcasts yourselves, be sure to post them for me. We'll give them a follow. And I do appreciate all of our friends on Rumble, all the podcasters who have been big help to us and bring us up on their shows or just recommend to us. We thank you so much. We're just over a year old, and we got a lot of things in the mix that we're trying to get done. And I'm glad. I don't know who wants to listen to us, but I'm glad there's a few. But I'm Dave the AM, and we will see you tomorrow, Lord willing. Let's pray for a better day. They're hours ahead of us over there, so the news will hit in the middle of the night. But serious business. And I just don't trust these jacklegs that are out here running around doing. I sure don't trust Zelensky. My God. This is the guy. This is the guy. I'll say this. I'm getting off here. Truly, because I could go on for hours about this. This is the guy. This is the little weasel that's going to get us in. That's the guy. We know what he is. But this is the guy. Why is he even still over that country? Not supposed to be there. And now he's over there bragging. Oh, I led the attack. Oh, yeah, we took a year and a half. Oh, we have the office right next to their office. Are you kidding me? This little stunt guy, as it's about what he's tall as, this is the guy that's going to get us pulled in. And he's got all them willing European folks over there, generals and all. Oh, let's go to war. Yeah, we're going to hit them. My God. It's absolutely incredible. We need to speak very forcefully in the next few days about expectations, de-escalation, and tell that little guy to shut the heck up. But I suspect that we're involved to a point. I just would like to know what the president knows. I know we'll never know that. That's intelligence. I mean, I get that. But what did he know? What did the president know about this? Did he even know it was going to happen? I don't trust some of them to tell the president the truth. I'm absolutely not happy with many of some of the people he's put in his cabinet. Talk about ineptness. Talk about big talk. There's nothing getting done. So, oh yeah, they're plotting. I'll tell you, they would love to see the president fall flat on this. Then they could blame him, even though Biden put us here. They blame him. Really going all the way back to Obama. We know this. We know the story. God bless you. Pray for each other. Pray for our country. Pray for the president. We'll see you on the morning. I got to get to bed because it's coming soon. I got to go to work. So look, God bless you all. We'll go out with some music. Thank y'all for your support. Once again, as I say, God bless America. I love my country, even though sometimes I get very angry about what's happening. I love America, and I'm glad to be free for right now. Right now, comrades, we're still free. Let's stay that way, and let's stay out of another man's war. We don't need it. Take care.